up here.
They're probably in the shade a little bit.
It is a warm one today, and I thank you so much for coming out to visit me. My name is Elvira Giebert. I was born September the 30th of 1920 on my family's farm. I had two brothers and one sister, and one of my brothers passed very young as a young boy. Myself, I attended a one-room school that was just a couple miles from our farm home. I had the same school teacher for 7 of the 8 years that I attended. I was one of 8 in my 8th grade graduating class, and I was the only one in that class who went on to Redbud High School. Now that was in the 1930s, back in the time when we didn't have school buses for transportation and we didn't have rural electricity. So I was very appreciative of the fact that I did get to attend high school. I also have some pictures of my life story that I'd love for you to look at as I go along. Oh, it's a warm one today. You'll have to bear with me. It's been a while and I have a long history. So I jotted a few notes for myself and I am going to look at those from time to time. After I graduated from high school, I entered the Jewish School of Nursing and I graduated from there in 1942. Now that was just the beginning of World War II. And there were 12 women who graduated with me. We realized quickly that nurses would be needed for the war efforts. 5 of those nurses joined the Army. 7, including myself, joined the Navy. We enlisted in the military so that we could help out. I reported to duty in March of 1943 at the Great Lakes Naval Base. At 10 a.m., I passed my physical. By 3 p.m., I was on active duty. I began by being in charge of a ward of patients who were suffering from spinal meningitis. My basic training consisted of on-the-job training, and I had off-duty hours of training in the Navy protocol. After 6 months at Great Lakes, my remaining tours of duty in World War II included the Naval Hospital in Norman, Oklahoma, in Long Beach, California, Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Navy Station, Kahului, Maui, and the U.S. Navy Station, Aiea Heights in Oahu, Hawaii. And then I was back to Great Lakes, where I was released from my active duty near the end of the war. While I was serving as a military nurse, I noticed that the soldiers who were wounded had a very tough time and struggled to regain their strength as they were healing. I realized that it was necessary for physical therapy for those soldiers to be able to heal properly. So I entered the Barnes Hospital School of Physical Therapy, and I earned a certificate in PT in 1947. I also earned a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Washington University in 1950. I was recalled to active duty in November of 1950, and I was stationed at the U.S. Navy Hospital in Oakland, California. I was assigned to work with an architect and a staff to convert a luxury hotel into spa pools and cubicles with treatment tables used previously to treat polio patients. But before our new ward could be finished, we received overflow patients from the San Diego Naval Hospital. So we quickly set up wards and a PT department in temporary buildings. We were treating 150 orthopedic or neurologically impaired patients who they suffered knee damage, leg damage, back injuries. On weekend duty, I worked in this ward, or I worked in the operating room. So I was working as a physical therapist one minute and as a nurse the next minute. I really liked the physical therapy work, though, so I requested a transfer from the Nurses Corps to the Medical Service Corps, where I could just work as a physical therapist. I was released into inactive duty from Corona, but in the meantime, my transfer to the medical service was complete, and I was recalled within a few weeks to go back to active duty, but this time as a physical therapist. I was at the U.S. Navy Hospital in Philadelphia, PA, and I was released again into active duty in June of 1953, ranking a lieutenant colonel. I joined the reserves and attended Naval Reserve Officer School at Lambert Airfield. I remained in the Navy Reserves until my retirement in 1980. After I left the military in 53, I moved back to Redbud, and I started working in 1959 for the Special School District in St. Louis County, which had been established a few years earlier for teachers and social workers. I was instrumental in setting up a physical therapy department for the school. As a matter of fact, I set up 4 physical therapy departments for 4 different schools in that district. It was the Ackerman School District in Florissant, and I did this in 1961. I treated the students and hundreds of students who had been disabled until I eventually retired from all work in 1980. Not being one to sit around and do nothing, I found many causes to be involved with. I was a real history buff, so I joined the Randolph County History Society. I served as the president for several years. I helped lead the restoration and preservation of the Creole House in Prairie du Rocher. I donned my long dress and apron and worked at many events at the Creole House and the Corn Fest at Chester Oak School. I was involved in many church activities, including teaching junior high Sunday school for several years, and I was active in the Gateway Waves and the Officers Club at Scott Air Force Base. I loved to garden. As a matter of fact, I lived just up the road on Locust Street. I had a beautiful flower garden and vegetable garden, and I shared with anyone who asked because it was way too much for me to eat. I never married, and I suppose really I was a liberated woman before people knew what a liberated woman was. I spent my last days at the Redbud Nursing Home, passing away on Tuesday, July the 7th of 2009. I was 88 years old, and now I rest here peacefully next to Art Ziebel, who will speak to you next.